Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. This month we've been talking about dissonance in a lot of different ways. Basic things like preparing dissonance and resolving it. Suspensions, which is just the most beautiful and gentle of dissonances. But this week I want to talk about balanced dissonances. Now, as you move through a chord progression, you'll want to have some tension and release. You'll want to have some dissonant intervals built into the chords. But if you're careful and make sure that the sort of degree of dissonance, so to speak, and the types of dissonances that appear in each chord in the sequence are balanced, are similar, maybe, the progression will flow smoother. You'll have a sense of continuity, greater beauty, a greater chance your listener will accept some sometimes striking sonorities. I've got 6 examples, and maybe we'll do a little review about what I'm talking about. Let's dive in. So here's an example of what I'd consider a progression that uses some balanced dissonance. I'm going to go D minor 7, G, C, but it's D minor 9, G 13, C 6 9. And taking a moment to look at these voicings, the arrangement of the notes and the chords, you can see right away that the sound of the chords relies on not only the thirds and the sevenths, but also extensions. And those extensions frequently appear kind of clustered into neighbor tones. So I've got, a minor 7 chord that includes a ninth. And the D and the E, the suggestion of it is a second. It's a fairly strong dissonance. And this major 7 also by itself has some strong dissonances. Now, flowing easily and using the rule of parsimony, I move as little as possible to the G9 or G13 chord. I've changed one note and I get another second. I get that same seventh and a different bass note. Everything steps down and I've got a similar shape for the C 6/9. The shape doesn't change. You can see the colored notes. It kind of looks like I just slipped my hand down a bit. It's not really the same intervallic relationships, but beautiful, balanced voicings. Balanced voicings can be surprising, but they also can be just beautiful and stable. For instance, this gorgeous C major 7 voicing has a surprising minor second, and I'm going to go to F major 7 in this inversion. And notice how the minor second appears first at the bottom and then at the top. This sound is a little spiky, but is ridiculously beautiful in context. There are lots of ways of using this in progressions, and you have to become, I guess we'd just say, aware of it. Recognize that as you move from chord to chord, the degree of dissonance and the techniques that you use to create dissonance within each chord, if they're consistent, if they have a similar sort of philosophy, like I'm going to use a bunch of minor seconds, even if you just kind of mush them in there, there's going to be kind of a sense of flow from chord to chord, and it can be quite striking. I've got 6 examples of using it in different instrumental forms, so let's go back to the beginning and play through. My first example is that C major 7, F major 7 sort of sound. And here you can see exactly what I did before. The C major 7 with the 7th and the root, and then the 7th and the root on the top. This has a satie sound, doesn't it? And I've created a little kind of melody on the top and a melody on the bottom. Very peaceful vibes. Now we're going to do the same thing with E flat major 7 and B flat major 7, just as a way of relieving us from the harmonic language. And even that little turnaround chord has a similar quality, that minor second in it. I've doubled the major 7 in the last chord, which I guess strictly speaking I wouldn't ordinarily want to do, but it just sounded so great there to have the melody come down to the major 7. This is an example of kind of chordal homogeneity, right? They're all major 7 chords, and because they're all major 7 chords, it really contributes to the continuity. Let's go on to the next example, which uses jazz voicings. Well, this is a 2-5-1 in E flat, and it's kind of a sort of that strong jazz sound. And then a 2-5-1 in C minor, the relative minor, and that sound also just pretty spiky. And the C minor is minor, major 7. Yeah. Well, listen to how these minor seconds in these jazz voicings give us a sense of balanced continuity, balanced dissonance. So these are just the voicings, very plainly you can see. And then we'll just put a little instrumental form on that voicing. And this might be a great accompaniment track for a melody. Let's say you got a singer or a lead horn line. Doesn't swing, but it's jazz voicings, and that tension gives us a lot of propulsion. It's aching, you know, it's really beautiful in that way. We'll just end 2-5-1 in C minor major 7. All right, I've got a few more examples. Let's go forward. One of my favorite things to do as a young pianist was play what I called the hit the road jack bass line, and now I've learned to call the Andalusian cadence. You know, with like just a simple blues scale. But if you want to chordally support that bass line, the sound of major seconds gives you a crunchy but still sort of consonant quality, and that's what I've done here. So a kind of G minor, a kind of F7, a kind of E flat, and a D. The major seconds, they don't feel terribly dissonant in this context. It just feels sort of bluesy, rocky. Guitarists can just stomp on a distortion pedal and get a little extra crunch. Pianists or arrangers for winds, strings, horns have to rely on dissonance to create crunch. And I mean, it's essentially what the clashing overtones of a distortion pedal does for us. We're creating clashing overtones because of the use of dissonant intervals within the chord. It can be very beautiful, though. It doesn't have to clash. And my next example is arpeggios. I sometimes call this a figured arpeggio, where you have a little second or a little turn on the top. It's an E minor 9 sound. And here that second on the top creates a kind of a little bite in the arpeggio. Mostly they're major seconds, so it's not a big bite. Oh, that's a peaceful vibe and one that I just love. We should go on to the next couple of examples, the last couple of examples. But before we do, I just want to say, if this is the second or third video of mine you've seen and you're getting something out of the channel, and I certainly hope you are, and you're not subscribed, now's the time to hit the subscribe button. You probably should have done it at the beginning of the video, right? We've been talking about, I guess you just have to call it music theory, but it's music theory kind of aimed at what you need right now. Maybe it's something you're doing already that you didn't even know the name for. Maybe it's something just to kind of push you or guide you in a new direction, a slightly new direction in your own work. I hope that these ideas are useful for you today. You can just put them right to work. They're probably not going to help you on your AP music exam, although I try not to make egregious mistakes. I've been known to just make up names for stuff because this is what I do. It's what I hear my friends and fellow composers doing. We need to be able to talk about this stuff. We need to be able to think about this stuff. You've got to have a framework that you can fall back on so that you can say, I know what I do as a composer, as a songwriter. I like to lean into this particular thing. Find that thing that's yours. There's an enormous need for it right now, for your individuality. I hope this is music theory for everyone. All right, let's go on. I got two more examples. So I'm breaking my rule here. These are inconsistent. So these aren't balanced tensions. The first couple of chords are crunchy with minor seconds, and then the third chord opens out, stacks of fourths. It's still technically a dissonant chord, but it has an open quality, and that tension of the close voicing and then the splash as the voicing opens up has musical meaning. You'll see what I mean. It's kind of a dominant tonic thing, right? I love being able to resolve to the F sharp instead of to the C. It feels like a flower that just kind of suddenly blooms. It's a lotus because it's blooming out of the mud. The root motion in tritones with the same voicing. So pretty. We've got one more example, and this is back to my favorite instrumental form, the interlocking hands. And this is that 2 against 3 trick, the Philip Glass trick, where you grab a couple of notes, but think of it as a triplet. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And against that, the right hand over the top does 2 against 3. And this pattern is fun. In this progression, the tensions are fairly consistent. Each dissonant tone is prepared, and then you evolve to the next chord voicing. There's always at least 1 or 2 notes that are steady from voicing to voicing. Beautiful. Well, I guess I would just have to shout out to Paul Barringer, who introduced me to the idea of balanced dissonances in my voicings. And we were talking mostly about piano in that context, but it's crucial for us in any arranging or orchestration. Within each sort of orchestral strata, may it be strings or horns or winds, a consistent dissonance scheme. Going to be a lot of minor seconds here. Here it's going to be open fourths. Here I'm going to stick to thirds, just because I like horns to sound good. Is going to help you when you are arranging. It'll give the listener's ear a way of understanding the chords, and it'll give you a sense of flow from chord to chord and just for the piece as a whole. For a pianist, it's just kind of a question of getting the thought process involved, making some choices. And for an artist, you may find that certain types of dissonances suit you best. I think it's probably true for me. I've sort of identified certain things that I really, really like. You may find things that work better for you. I encourage you to examine yourself in just that way. Well, I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe, ding the bell. You'll be notified when I do my videos. And I'll see you next time.